very much. That was very truly enough over and over again. I mean, I was doing some work on cisplatin, and here you can see that's also serendipitous discovery. So would you agree that great discovery actually could come from a very spiritual mind?
So let me say yes in the following sense. That, the fortunate thing about discovery is that it is inevitable. It may happen by chance, but the odds are high in your favor if you pursue the work with passion, if you pursue it with a love of the activity. My father used to say that an experiment can tell if you love it. Because only then will it succeed. It's very true. If you do something with that kind of intensity, then you will recognize, or there's a good chance of your perceiving when something significant has happened. If it's done in a casual or indifferent manner, of course, that's most unlikely. So, yes, in that very important sense, science is an example, the faith and the practice, the passion invested in it, of what in other realms may be referred to as spirituality.
Good afternoon, good morning. My name is Dr. Abubakar. I'm a PhD student in OBHUKM. My question is regarding some of the probable hurdles or problems you face maybe during your postgraduate career or postdoctoral career that you have successfully overcome. I would like you to share with us so that we can use this as a very good guide to a successful science career. Thank you very much.
Let me say that my experience as a student, as a postgraduate student, that is to say, postdoctoral fellow, when I went to Cambridge, England, and then in the science I did since, what I do today, what I will do in the future, is exactly the same as that of any other scientist. We are always alone, so to speak, confronting the challenge, attempting to unlock the mysteries of nature. Each one of us must individually try and think as best we can what to study, how to do it, and then find the wherewithal, the means to go about it. So the challenges which I face are universal, no different from those that you do. I can remember very well when I started as a graduate student, and again when I went to Cambridge as a postgraduate student to work in a marvelous laboratory, and then subsequently my own, always facing that very first question: what to do, what problem to solve, what question to ask, where to begin. It's the same as the one that confronts you on a daily basis. It was the one that I had to address at the beginning before, and that I will have to confront tomorrow.
Hello, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum. Selamat pagi. What do you think about the convergence of nanotechnology now? That people say that molecular biologists, physicists, chemists, everybody seems to be converging on a single scale, whereby in the future, nanomedicine, for example, will be solved by not so-called doctors, but maybe by biosensors, by information technology, all converting to one single effort, very large-scale effort. Don't you think that it will be revolutionary, and how does your work probably will contribute towards this future development? Thank you very much.
Sure. So it's useful in that regard to reflect on the progress of the science, which I only described very briefly in the course of my lecture. I alluded to the erosion of the boundaries between disciplines. I said that we have today a virtual continuum from atoms to whole organisms. In fact, the work over the past 50 years in molecular biology provides a perfect example in a way underlies what you refer to as the emergence of nanotechnology. So when I went to Cambridge to learn how to study the structures of biological molecules, to discover the arrangement arrangement of atoms within those molecules. I went to the laboratory where the method for doing so was invented in Cambridge, England, and at the time it was possible with great difficulty to find the arrangement of several thousand atoms in a small individual biomolecule. The work for which I was awarded the Nobel Prize represented, and I think one of the reasons why it was singled out, a step up to the next level beyond that, finding the arrangement of atoms not in a single biomolecule, but in an assemblage, what I described to you as a minute or indeed a molecular machine. That is a perfect example of a nanome, what people today call a nanomachine. It is formed not of a single biomolecule, but of a whole collection of them functioning in a concerted fashion to execute a very complex process. There are many naturally occurring nanomachines, and there's much interest in devising artificial or synthetic nanomachines. So it represents, as it were, a logical next step in a progression, but that it won't end there. And that's what it is so important to realize. What we today call nanotechnology is only a step in an ongoing development. We will soon learn how to integrate the activities of many of these machines to eventually arrive at processes that we can perceive are executed by intact organisms. Nanotechnology is an important stepping stone towards still greater things.
Thank you very much. May I ask you a personal question?
Of course.
I'm not sure whether you have experienced this, but when your love and your passion dies off, what is the single most thing that would wake you up and want you to move on and finish what you have started?
The motivation that one has for an activity such as I have been engaged in doing for these very many years, I think is not at all different from that of people in any walk of life. There is an ambition that we are born with to try to go further, to achieve. I alluded to this extraordinary human impulse to explore, and it's what took, as it were, primitive men out of Africa. It's what led to populating the world. It's what led to everything else that we know, including the evolution of our species. I think beyond that, it's impossible to explain. I mean, why do we care? Why do we try? Why do I get up in the morning and go to the lab with such eagerness? Beyond that, I can't tell you. I think it's an emotion. It's a characteristic of all of us as humans. It's something we share.
So that sums up that your passion and your love has never died. Every morning you're a very lucky person.
I am, if anything, more ambitious to discover something new today than I was 10 years before that.
I see your hand here. Yeah.
Morning, Professor.
Yeah.
I'm a science student for A-levels right now. Now, with respect to science as a basis for bridging cultures and fostering peace, I have two questions. One, what is my role in this? And the second one would be, what advice would you give to students like me?
So the role of every student, of all of us, at every level, is to try and add to the body of knowledge. That is the most straightforward purpose. Our purpose is not only to learn, but to add new facts, to contribute in that way. Beyond that, our purpose is to do so in an absolutely reliable manner, to be sure that what we contribute is true. Someone alluded earlier, one of the questioners, to the fact that truth is ultimately subjective. Indeed, there is much philosophical discourse along those lines, but most of us know what we mean by truth in science. It's never absolute, but it's generally agreed. And one's goal is to add to the body of knowledge in a reliable fashion. we all have an equal obligation as members of the society, the community, of humankind on this planet, an equal obligation to try and ensure that the values which I suggest are embodied in that pursuit extend beyond. But that's something that doesn't distinguish scientists from anybody else. Scientists are no better or worse than anybody else. We all can only try and do our best in these regards.
Good morning. My name is Zanabuddin Ahmad. My concern is that the basic science education, basic science is simply not reaching society, all levels of society. For example, the hyper-excessive consumption of protein. We know for a long time already, it's on the US Institute of Medicine website, that the human body on average needs only 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. That means if you weigh, even a healthy person, 100 kilograms body weight, you only need 80 grams of protein per day. And all foods are loaded with protein. For example, cooked animal meat is about 30% protein. Even tested soy is even better, 50% protein. Dal, chickpeas, cooked chickpeas is 9% protein, and so on. And yet we continue to consume excessive protein, especially by slaughtering billions of animals and keep eating slaughtered factory mass slaughtered meat like candy. And it's doing us great harm in terms of environment, in terms of medical, and in terms of economy. It's very costly to raise billions of animals and then to slaughter them, and the environmental impact, the animal waste, clogging our water sources, water supplies, and so on. Medically, the human body cannot store excess protein. Excess protein, either it burns it immediately or... Yeah, that's the problem we have to address. Basic science is not reaching the public.
Once again, if I may, there are quite separate issues that you raise. On the one hand, the spirit of basic science, of inquiry and of pursuing deep insight, fundamental understanding, needs to be inculcated in schools, and it needs to be a part of everyday practice. The spirit of inquiry, of seeking to understand, is something which can be common to all. Now, that spirit of inquiry and what accompanies it, of questioning, of seeking answers that are believable because they are based on